Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers, a podcast where we talk about tattoos, life, and everything in between. I am Callista, and this is
Gaia.
And today we are talking about tattoos. Hooray! Technically,
well,
yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say guests.
It's under the three genres of what we normally talk about.
Okay.
So tattoo guests.
Yep.
If your friend's getting tattooed, if you are planning on bringing a friend to get tattooed, here are some etiquette rules. Stuff like that you need to be aware of because we have run into problems and some of us have been the problem, aka me. So,
were you the problem or were your guests the problem?
Okay, we're just going to jump right into this.
Okay, yeah, we're going to start out with her horror story.
Yes.
And then I'll see if I can remember some horrible. I already have some guests. Perfect.
Okay, we're just going to jump right in. I'm, first of all, to put this out on record, embarrassed. My first tattoo experience, I was 18 and I went to go get tattooed and I had done my research online. I was like, okay, great. Certain things I should know before my appointment. And when it came to guests, somebody on Reddit or something said you preferably just want to do 2 people max. And I was like, okay, great. Yeah, that's fine. Whatever. I know that seems like a lot.
Can I just make an edit to that?
Well, yeah. Now, as a tattoo artist, I don't agree.
Can we have one person max?
Max. Yeah, now I don't agree, as an actual tattoo artist. But back then, that was the first, internet answer that I saw. Anyways, so I went to go get tattooed, and I invited my boyfriend. I think we were dating then. My boyfriend at the time, yeah. I invited my boyfriend at the time, and then he had invited one of his friends. So I was like, okay, whatever. And one of his friends, mind you, got tattooed at that studio, regularly. And so, or semi-regularly, whatever. So, he was still familiar with, the studio, and he just wanted to say hi to the artist or whatever. So I show up to the appointment, and we're getting started on the tattoo, and my boyfriend's friend is being a huge jackass. Is sitting on, it was so embarrassing. It was so embarrassing. He had a rolling chair and was just rolling around the studio. I'm not kidding. I wish I was joking. Was rolling around the studio, and it was so bad to the point where my artist had to tell him, hey, buddy, I'm going to need you to calm down a little bit. It was bad.
Can I interject?
Yes.
For the listeners out there, by the time an artist has to say something to you,
oh my God,
it's really bad.
Yeah.
It's genuinely bad. We deal with a lot before we actually say something.
It was horrific.
So, if you are the client who has a guest, please tell your guest to stop before we must speak up. And also, or just don't bring guests. That's the best thing to do.
Yeah.
But if you're like, dude, I need someone, and they are doing that, that means it was really bad.
Yeah, it was disruptive is what it was. It was completely disruptive. And, we talk a lot about how, a lot of tattooing is, trying to stay hyper-focused. And so, having your friend roll around the studio, awful. So he was rolling around. And then one of my other friends shows up, and I didn't know that she was coming because, lo and behold, my boyfriend decided to invite her. And I think he posted on Snapchat or something that they were there. And so she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous. And he was like, come through. And so it was.
I have secondhand embarrassment for you.
Fucking terrible. And guess what? That isn't even where it ends. Another surprise guest. You want to guess who it was?
Wait, so you had 4 people?
The 4th person left after 5 minutes, but that doesn't make it right. You want to guess who it was? My mom.
Oh, Anna.
My mom.
That would have been really cute if it was just you.
Well, she didn't tell me she was going to show up. So I was horrified. I was like, oh my God, my mom is here for my first tattoo. And she looked at my tattoo artist and she's like, I kind of want to tell you to stop. And
oh, Anna.
I know.
I've also had those people, don't bring your parents.
I'm so happy because he handled it so well.
Mm-hmm.
He was such a champ. And I'm, again, so sorry you had to deal with this. I hope he doesn't remember me. But he looked at her. Doesn't. I really hope he doesn't. He looked at her and he was all like, I mean, we're just a few dots in, so she could play it off as moles if she really wanted to. He was so funny and he handled it so well. And yeah, that's my guest horror story. It was mortifying. 2 extra people that I didn't know about. One of my friends had to be told to calm down. It was fucking mortifying. Yeah. Very embarrassing. So that's my guest horror story. I was that client.
That's okay. That's okay. You learned.
You know what? Yes.
That's the thing, is that we learn.
Sometimes, okay, and if you haven't had this happen to you, then learn from my story. So to backtrack. Now, at maximum, please bring one person.
Yep.
Because it's the more people you add to your tattoo experience, the more distracting it's going to be for your artist to focus on what's going on. And I don't know. I typically don't have a lot of problems with like guests now as a tattoo artist. I don't have a lot of problems with guests, but one that I've run into several times when people do bring guests is significant others touching my client while I am tattooing them.
Oh man, it makes me so mad. It's okay. Let's be really clear. I don't let Caboose come to my tattoo appointments because he is also that person that he sees me in pain and he wants to touch me.
Yeah, like rub you on the shoulder.
Yeah,
like,
he wants to just like make me feel better. Now, for me personally, if I'm in pain, you touching me makes it way fucking worse. I am that person that's like, hey, I'm hurting. Get the fuck away from me. And like, let's face it, you're the only person that tattoos me at this point. So we're just having a silly good time. Like, we're just chilling. I am either sleeping or we're chatting.
Yeah.
Like, but also don't touch me. And the reason why we as artists don't want you to touch is because it's fucking creepy and weird. And also, picture this. You are writing on a piece of paper and someone comes up and keeps touching that paper. And even if they are not moving said paper or aware that they're moving it.
Like grazing the paper.
You're really, just like caressing this fucking paper you're working on. Now, if you're like, dude, I would love for someone to caress that paper. You know what? Take every single client who ever wants to have a significant other there. I personally do not like spouses there because the fact that they're going to want to touch, or they like the client themselves, because then they feel like this sounds terrible. They're in a safe space when their spouse is there. The pain becomes much worse for them. So that's when, like, there's guests,
the more comfortable they are.
Yeah, the more comfortable they are, the more they will move around and talk. The more they will make awkward sex noises, because this seldom happens.
Or complain.
Yeah.
They will absolutely start complaining. And I know that, like, some people don't realize that that's a big deal. But, like, again, think of it from our angle. We are still human beings. So when you complain about how bad your tattoo hurts, I don't want to feel rushed. I don't want to have to feel like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. Like, feel bad about it. I'm like, no, dude, like, I get it. It hurts, but you did sign up for it. You really did. You know,
that's a part of the job that, like, we probably don't talk about enough on here, that I have to ignore that you're in pain in order to do my job well. So if I am not ignoring that fact, then, like she said, we feel rushed, or I feel like I have to go like lighter, that I'm like, oh God, like, let me try to get this done, as opposed to being able to give you the best possible job. So like when you're complaining, or heaven forbid you have a guest that then amps up that, like, oh, woe is me. It's also another reason why I don't like Caboose to be there, is because then he's constantly like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And as a tattoo artist, fucking shit, that pisses me off so bad. Because once again, you signed up for it. So much like going on a long fucking plane ride, you signed up for this. And I know that it sucks. I have painful tattoos. And for me personally, I just make myself go to sleep. I'm like, dude, fucking this hurts. Force yourself to stay still. Whatever gets you done faster.
I just dissociate, basically. I'm like, I'm trying to float out of my body and like I put myself in when it like really hurts and I have a really challenging piece, I just try my best to meditate out of my body, or like focus on whatever it is I'm watching or whatever it is I'm listening to or whatever. I think the only couple that I ever had come in that was like the best couple ever was a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and I was tattooing the boyfriend, and they just put something up on the iPad, like a movie, and then they shared Bluetooth headphones. Yeah. And they didn't touch at all. It was so cute. But they were just enjoying their little show together. It was amazing. And it was phenomenal. But I can't stand that. It's so weird because, when people touch their significant others, like caressing them, I'm like, I feel like the odd one out of the threesome, you fucking weirdo.
That's how I feel. Genuinely. Like, you are part of a threesome, but you're the one that's, like,
not the
sitting
couple.
off to the side, masturbating to it. And you're like, y'all, I didn't know that we were doing a threesome.
Okay, great. Sorry, I totally thought the camera got messed up.
But yeah, it feels genuinely so awkward that you're just like, dude, what are you doing? Like, it feels like you were part of this, like, ridiculously intimate moment that you didn't agree to.
It's too intimate. Yeah. It's like if you were going out with friends and they just randomly started making out and you're over here like, bro, wait.
I have lots of stories about that.
Oh, God.
I have a family member who did that.
No, thank you.
Made out with his girlfriend in my mother's lap. Yeah.
Ew.
Yep.
And that's my thing. I'm like, okay, so here's the thing. Like, A, it's uncomfortable and intimate. And B, dude, you're touching my canvas.
Mm-hmm. Like
Stop
I said,
touching my canvas.
It's caressing that piece of paper. You're trying to write your term paper, and you only get to write it once. You don't get to fix any fucking mistakes on it. You don't get to erase anything.
There's no autocorrect. Like,
yeah, you only get to handwrite your term paper one time, and somebody is just caressing your term paper. Like, let me just touch this for you.
Oh, so sensual.
Like, ugh.
And asking.
Okay, I'm gonna go right into like one of my biggest pet peeves about guests, besides the like. I guess I have a couple pet peeves, actually, come to think of it. Okay. But one of my biggest is people that, I get it, it's boring. So also, don't bring guests. Because it's so boring. Super boring. It sounds like a really cool thing, but then it gets mad boring. And then they get, like, antsy. So they sit there and they tap their fucking, like, a pen in their hand. Or they start shaking. Or they're tapping their foot on the ground. Dude. And there's just this constant, like, and 9 times out of 10, it's right at our eye level. So their hand will just be shaking. Because my client's still. So then the guest is just there, like, constantly tapping shit. And it is right at my eye level. And once again...
It's in your peripheral.
Yeah, it's in your peripheral. And you are trying to focus. So it's the same thing with, like, I never put guests, when we do have them, in a wheelie chair. Because moment they're in a wheelie chair...
They also go into other people's stations all the time. I'm like, dude, please stay tight. Stay tight. I get that you don't know that because it's not part of your job, but, like, you need to, like, make sure you're in your area because...
I don't know. I think it's common sense.
I know. Well,
like, the amount of other people's guests that have then... Like, now I work in a shop where people... Like, we've had these conversations among artists of, like, keep your guests in your area because, like, people will come and put their shit on my station or literally steal my chair.
I've had that happen to me, too. Oh my God, I hate when they steal my chair because I'm like, it's so awkward for me to come up to you. And there's no way of me to, like, say it without sounding like a total bitch, but being like, hey, that's my chair.
Yeah.
I'll get you a different chair, but that's my chair.
Yeah.
And it's so, I'm like, oh my God, if you take a chair, just, you know what, clear it with your artist first. Because your coworkers should know if that's okay or not. And, like, we're very...
But also don't put anything down on surfaces without permission.
Oh my God, yes. When guests bring coffee for you, the artist, and their significant other, or, you know, friend, whatever, and they put it on the station, I'm like, that's contaminated now.
Yep. Like, congratulations, now I need to wipe that entire thing down, and I need to reset up because you decided that you put your Starbucks, which... Thank you for bringing Starbucks.
Much. Thank you so much. We love that. Yeah. However, I've had that happen too, where I'm like, I can't drink that. Yeah. This shit's contaminated. Like,
and I need to reset up my station. Yeah. Well, okay. And then let's go into another thing. If your friend, significant other, whoever, is getting a tattoo and you don't have anything nice to say about it, shut the fuck up. Because the amount of extra fucking commentary that is done by guests on a fucking tattoo that they are not getting. Like, that's the thing with, like, you know, we love Anna. She probably shouldn't have told your artist. I wish I could tell you to stop. Because I have had so many parents say that. And when they're like, oh, wow, you went that big.
They think they're being funny. You know what I mean? They think they're being, like, delicate. But it's like, dude, this is, again, like, you forget this is just of an intimate process for your person getting tattooed than it is for me as well. It's intimate for the both of us. So when you say stuff like that, it's A, kind of hurtful. And B, like, I I'm just here doing my job.
Yep.
I'm just doing my job. I don't need to be questioned. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, I don't know.
I mean, I've been in the middle of fights that people are having about the tattoo that I'm currently doing, because I will put a tattoo on someone who is, I think my client was like 24. Mm-hmm. And his mom came by and was super pissed that it was the size that it was. She wanted it to be a lot smaller. The design called for it to be larger. Also, he's 24. We agreed on this design. It was a great piece.
That's a grown person.
And they started arguing while I am working on the tattoo about, why did you go so big? Why is it so bright? Like, saying things in my brain, I'm like, oh, you're complimenting my work. Thank you. You're saying that it's like really clean. And she's like, why do the lines look that thick? Why are the colors that bright?
No, I'm
questioning every last thing.
I'm too much of a soft sponge, because that hurts me. It hurts me. It makes me like doubt and question. And like, that's the dangerous area where like, I'm like, no, if you want to knock out a piece, you need to be fucking confident.
Yeah.
And so when guests knock down your confidence, I'm like, dude, it's not even my client's fault. It's not even my client's fault that like this piece didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. It's because somebody else brought this negativity into my mind. Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. So the moral of the story is pretty much like, don't bring a client. But if you are going to be a client, things you can do that are good.
You mean a guest?
Yeah. Or sorry.
Yeah. If you're a client who's going to bring a guest, and or if you're going to be a guest, things that you can do to be like a good guest. Which again, I mean, I feel like we covered a lot. Please, like, I don't know, maybe clear it. Oh, okay. Let me back up. If you're a client and you want to bring a guest, please clear it with your studio and your artist that is okay.
Yes. And also, don't be mad when we say no.
Yeah, when they get mad, I'm like,
it's really I get it. You guys want someone there to like give you support. Like when we get pierced, we 9 times out of 10 go together. Granted, we both get pierced at that point. So it's not just like, hey, I'm just creepily hanging out in the room. But like usually it's, hey, she has an appointment and I have an appointment.
Like right after yours and we get to hang out. Yeah.
3 minutes after.
Yeah.
So like if that's the case, awesome. Otherwise, like, it's really hard to be like, no, you can't bring someone back there because I know you're scared. But when we, like, especially with our studio, we're an open studio. So sometimes if every single artist is working, there just isn't enough space.
Genuinely, yeah.
Especially, like, if everyone is working on, like, a calf, a back, anything where we're laying down, the clients are already, like, damn near kissing with their faces right next to each other. So then having additional people back there becomes, like, borderline a trip hazard. And it sucks to be the person that's like, no, unfortunately, we can't have guests back here today because we are at max capacity. And then having someone get really mad at you. And like, I've had clients make scenes in the lobby about how they're pissed off that they're like, well, I drove all this way and my guests can't come back. And I'm like, unfortunately, no.
Well, maybe you should have cleared it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry, but like, there's nothing I can do. And again, it becomes a hazard. It becomes a hazard at that point. And like, who wants to be in a tattoo studio that is also like, I don't know. It's also like a high stress environment. So when you add more people to the mix and it starts feeling like a house party, it becomes really hard for us to focus and do our jobs. And like, and by everyone, I mean genuinely all the artists. Like there have been times where like people have brought guests that are just loud, and every artist who works at the studio is just miserable. Because we're like, dude, this is like, you are pulling focus away. And that's what we want to avoid for every tattoo is like, again, we want to be hyper-focused. So when you pull focus, it is frustrating. It's hard because we don't want to, I mean, we just, at the end of the day, we want to do a good job. Our job, how we perform is permanent. So that is of utmost importance. And unfortunately, your comfort, friend, isn't of utmost importance because, again, the way we perform is permanent. So clear it. So if you're going to be a client and you want to bring a guest, please clear it with your artist first. Clear it with the studio. Make sure that that's even possible. Don't get mad when we say no because it happens. Shit happens. And then if you want to like brief your guest even, tell them exactly what we said. Like just make sure that like they are respectful. They know that it's going to be boring. So have them also bring entertainment. If you guys want to watch a movie together, honestly, I encourage it.
Yeah.
If you're bringing your significant other with you, please tell them to not touch you while you're getting tattooed. Just be very clear. And sure, it might be an awkward conversation, but what's an awkward 5-minute conversation compared to the rest of your life with this tattoo on your body?
I think it's also just a matter of respect. So it's like if you were going to a doctor's appointment with your like significant other, or say you're going to a dentist appointment. First off, if you're going to a dentist appointment, they won't let someone else back there with you. So I think that's the like treating our industry with just a base level of respect and understanding that like sometimes we can't accommodate guests. And also your guests, like if you for some reason came to a dentist appointment with me, the dentist is not going to let you touch me during the procedure. So why is it that in our industry, all of a sudden that's okay?
Right.
Like, fuck, if I was getting a massage, they wouldn't let you come back there. And if you did, they wouldn't let you touch me. And that's
their canvas.
So it's like you were saying, like, also provide entertainment for yourself. That being said, that does not mean playing anything out loud on your phone.
Oh, right. Yeah, we've talked about this before, too.
Headphones.
Yeah, cannot stress that enough.
And if you're going to talk to each other, I always brief my clients, like, your job is to stay as still as possible. So making sure that you are not getting so rowdy that you are inviting the client who is the canvas, who is like their sole job is to stay nice and still, is inviting them in a conversation where they're going to be moving. And then a personal thing that like upsets me is that like, I'm happy to answer questions personally. If you have lots of questions about tattooing and whatever, I'm super stoked on that. Obviously gauge your artist on it, but something that I've had an issue with even recently was that I had a group of people and I was not a person to them. So they were having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I was trying to engage in their conversation and they kept completely ignoring me. And keep in mind that your tattoo artist is a person. So if you're going to have conversations around them, don't ignore them. It's rude. Like it's as simple as that. Because at this point, we're all sitting in the same little area. And when you're just like, oh no, we're just going to ignore, we're not going to like include you in on anything. Now, you know, read the room. If your artist has headphones, sure, don't engage with them. But if your artist is also trying to ask you questions about your piece, don't ignore them because you're too busy talking to your friends. Like it is a group project. You say that all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's one of those things that I've had that quite a bit actually, where clients will just be like, we're going to talk amongst ourselves. And I'm like, so this is awkward because now I'm just sitting here quietly like, yep, I'm a machine. I'm not even like
I feel like
a person.
The food service industry broke me.
Yeah.
Because like that is just how food service industry people are treated every day.
That's ridiculous. That's bullshit.
Oh yeah. You're not treated like a human being at all. It is the most offensive, like heartbreaking thing where you go, hi, how are you? How can I help you today? And they just don't acknowledge the how are you? They're like, I need this. You know what I mean?
Oh,
that was so devastating.
I think because I just interact with everyone, assuming everyone is a person, that like in my brain that doesn't even like register. Like to me, like when
it's
when I
so
pull up
mean.
and they're like, oh, you know, I order Starbucks, I make sure that I ask them like, how are you? And usually like cashiers and stuff are like, oh, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm okay. How are you? I'm like, well, you know, you obviously have to say you're good because you're at work. And like I tend to make that joke a lot.
You
where
do,
I'm like,
yeah. You definitely say it. That's
because like because it sucks to be like, oh, how are you doing today? And you're like, I have to say I'm good because I'm at work and customer service says that. So I like to give people that like
the out.
Yeah, the out of
that's
being
how
like,
you that yeah. And a lot of times, like especially in food service and in the food service industry, then you know that person is cool and isn't gonna rat you out. You're like, okay, great, you see me as a person. Like, you know, I'm gonna tell you straight up. The last person that I had was so mean to me. You know what I mean?
I live for those stories.
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Too.
I love being like, well, how much longer do you have at work?
Oh, I love that too. They're like, I'm almost out. It's my Friday. And I'm like, good for you.
Yes. Or they're like, oh, I just started. I'm like, oof, bless your heart.
Yeah.
Like,
straight up.
That's hard.
Straight up. Well, hopefully the rest of your shift goes smoothly. So yeah, the food service industry has broke me. So when clients like ignore me, now I'm like, whatever. I'm just gonna.
Oh, it doesn't bother me when it's just the one person,
Mhm.
because I'm like, you know what? I don't talk a whole lot when I'm
Mhm.
getting tattooed, and I have that conversation with every single client.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can talk, you don't have to talk. I don't, I personally don't care either way.
Mhm.
But it's when you and your friends are having a conversation, and I am not a human being.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
It's
awful.
so awkward.
Yeah, thank you, food service, for breaking me. It's terrible.
It hasn't broke me yet.
Speaking of the like group project thing too, I guess another thing about guests is if you are a guest, please don't speak for your friend who's getting tattooed.
God, yes.
Yeah, we've had that happen in consultations a lot where I'll ask this person like what they want and their guest will speak up for them, and it's again, you're putting me in the most awkward position. There is no way for me to not sound like a bitch to look at you and be like, I'm sorry, but I'm talking to so and so.
Yeah.
And so I need them to talk for themselves because ultimately, sure, it's a group project, but it's a group project between me and your friend, not me and you. If you want to get tattooed, sure. But like, I'm talking to this person right now. And so again, there's no way for me to say that without coming off like a bitch. So don't put me in that position.
Yeah. That's one that I'm super happy to be a bitch in that moment. And I will just turn and be like, hi, thank you so much. I actually need you to answer because this is your tattoo and it's on your body.
Yeah.
And this person, it's usually 9 times out of 10, it's a significant other or a parent. So I'll turn to them and be like, though you will more than likely look at it for the rest of your life, this is their tattoo. So if I'm going to tattoo it on them, they have to speak to me. And I will for sure be a fucking bitch in that moment. And I'm like, whatevs. Like, yeah. Because I personally can't fathom that where I'm like, I don't know. Like, even Caboose will do that to me where he's like, well, you're the one that has to look at it and you're the artist. I'm like, don't fucking do that to me.
I'm asking
you make a decision because it's your body.
Well, and it's also like, I'm asking you because like your answer is important to me. Like I'm clearly, especially when it comes to art, the door is open. You know what I mean? And so it's only when like I show people, I don't know, something and I'm like, for example, our Veterans Day flash event, I had one of my really good clients come in and he was like, I want color. I don't care what. You know what looks good on me. You just do you. Then I genuinely trust you. I'm like, okay, cool. Then that's like fine. But like if we haven't built that relationship yet, and I'm asking you, it's because I do care about your opinion.
Yeah.
I do care about it. And so just give me a direction. You know what I mean? But that's just my thing. Anything else with guests? Any other entertainment? Don't speak for your friend who's getting tattooed. Be wary of your surroundings. Try not to take artist chairs because that's also really awkward and like hard. And also, I just don't like it when strangers touch my things, especially my chair. My tattoo chair specifically is very sacred to me because I fucking love that thing. I'm like, I have imprinted on that chair. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's very important. Be wary of surfaces. So if you do bring us snacks or drinks, thank you so much. But please like ask where you should put things. Because we don't want to contaminate it. Because if it's contaminated, I don't get to drink it or eat it. Yeah. And that makes me sad. What else?
And then just keeping your opinions to yourself. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all.
Don't say anything at all. Yeah. Headphones.
Then, headphones are key. And also just checking with the artist. Because like, once again, we are the person orchestrating all of this. So if you say, hey, do you mind if I ask you questions? So that way we have an out to be like, oh, I'm actually focused at this point. Or some artists don't like answering questions while they're working. So being really clear on giving people out to be like, hey, I have some questions. Is now a good time? And the other big thing for me personally, and it might not apply to other artists. I know some artists it does. If I'm working on your friend, now is not the time for you to tell me about your tattoo ideas. I am not here to do a consultation with you because I am focused on this specific piece. So it is really difficult for me to then be fully engaged in the creation of your tattoo.
And that includes like, if we're taking a break, if we take off our gloves and put on new ones and taking like a small break to like refill ink caps or whatever like that, that is also not an opportunity. It's not just while we're physically tattooing. Again, it's really hard to divide your attention and shift gears like that. That's a hard shift to go from like, I am one of the best pieces of advice I've ever gotten about tattooing was from Mark McKinnon, actually. And he said, fall into the piece. And so when I'm falling into a piece, the mental strain and effort it takes to be ripped out of that place and then be pushed to fall back into it is hard. That is a difficult shift. So if you are interested in getting tattooed, preferably wait for when your friend has been bandaged up and you guys are heading out the door. And then ask me if you should make a consultation, and which the answer should be yes. Always make a consultation. I'm not here to do a consultation right now. I'm exhausted. You know what I mean? Like, it's cool. I get you're excited, but like you still have to go the conventional way that like ask your friend how they made an appointment when you guys are, getting out of the parking lot. And then maybe it'll happen. Yeah. But yeah. Okay, that's a good one.
Yeah. I'm sorry if you're offended that you've done any of those things.
Hey, it's fine. It happens.
Yeah.
I'm a tattoo artist and I'm embarrassed, but it happens, and that's okay. I will hold grace for you.
Yep.
But if it happened and you didn't know, it's just because you didn't know.
Yeah.
The only way I found out is because now, exactly. Yeah. The only way I found out is because I became a tattoo artist and have been subject to all these things, and that's why this podcast exists. So that way you don't have to do that. You can just refer back to the episode and be like, oh, okay, great.
And to be clear, if you're like, oh my God, I'm totally that person that I got a pen and I just kept clicking it because I was bored, or like I have completely ignored the artist and I'm mortified. I've caressed my spouse,
my boyfriend,
during, or I actually had a client, like they literally started making out.
Don't.
So I had a lady who, let's be really clear here. She signed paperwork stating that she was not pregnant or breastfeeding. And then I was doing her tattoo and I turned around and there were several children that came in with one like teenager that was carrying a very small baby, and she just whipped her boob out, and I was still in the middle of tattooing. I was just refilling ink. And she started breastfeeding.
Oh my God.
And just expected me to continue working while she was breastfeeding. And so like we've had ridiculous stories, but here's the thing. I couldn't tell you what that that lady's face looks like. So she came in.
Name. Yeah.
I don't remember her name. So if these things have happened to you, if you have been either subject to a terrible guest experience or you yourself have been a horrible guest, don't worry about it. Seriously, do not worry about it. Your artist more than likely does not remember. You're just a funny story at this point. Mm-hmm. Or your artist isn't going to know your name. And like,
that's fine.
Yeah.
And
so
again,
it's not meant to shame you. This is not meant to be like, hey, make anyone feel bad. It's just a cautionary tale of like, hey, I don't know if y'all can hear that.
I know she's out cold.
Bailey is below our feet. Like she's below our chairs snoring so loudly.
She's out cold.
So if you hear that in the background noise, enjoy.
Yeah, we're that boring, huh, Bailey? Jesus.
Yeah, she's like, this episode was terrible. But yeah, we're not here to make anyone feel bad.
Don't go into a shame spiral. It's not that serious. You're totally fine. Again, the only way I found out was I became a tattoo artist. Yeah. So you don't have to do that anymore. Now people like us get to share these cautionary tales.
Yeah, the ridiculous stories.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yep.
I think
all right. Thank you so much, and we will see you back next week.
Bye.
Bye.